Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the School of Love, the place where we learn practical tools based on scientific research and our own experiences towards improving ourselves, living life to its fullest, and contributing to the best of our abilities to the world around us. I am Dr. Maria Grajdian, and I'm a professor of media studies and anthropology at Hiroshima University. In my free time, I am doing my best to guide you in building up a life of contentment, joy, and fulfillment while applying lessons learned in school to overcome the difficulties, challenges, and insecurities of the real world. In today's video, I talk about what happens when my friends isolate me as part of a series titled Things I Have Learned from My Kids. I have been creating this series of videos, Things I Have Learned from My Kids, by recollecting crucial learning moments from my interactions with my children, particularly with my daughter, for reasons which are still unclear to me throughout the years. The series, Things I Have Learned from My Kids, includes short videos about very pragmatic approaches to quotidian challenges and sadnesses, seen from the perspective of my daughter. Of course, there is a specific amount of rationalization and clarification involved in scripting, shooting, and editing the videos, but the main ideas are those shared with me by my kids when they were somewhere between 7 years old, 4 years old, and 7 years old. But now, first things first, that is to disclaimers. The first disclaimer serves to strongly emphasize the fact that this YouTube channel, The School of Love, is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy, and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as motivation and inspiration outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. Together, we can build up a better tomorrow for as many of us as possible. The second disclaimer relates to the fact that I am a trained musician and musicologist, not a psychologist, therapist, or counselor. The ideas I am sharing in my videos reflect my deep-going preoccupation with life, my own life and other people's lives, and express the results of my experiences, research, and for better or for worse, my failures, and my recovery from those failures. Recovery which is still ongoing. The ideas expressed in the videos on this YouTube channel, named The School of Love, cannot and may not and must not replace the consultation with specialists in whichever areas of your life you might have questions or you might struggle with. If you are new to this channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very much. This helps us not only with that mysterious algorithm which seems to dominate the YouTube galaxy, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. And now back to today's topic, which is what happens when my friends isolate me. Is a heavy one, right? Even as grown-ups, when we suddenly or gradually find ourselves isolated from those we care about, in this case, friends, it's a bitter pill to swallow, right? And when we are children, this is called bullying. When we're grown-ups, this is called mobbing, particularly when it happens in the workplace. And it is, every time when it happens, quite a difficult experience. And for better or for worse, most of us, if not all of us, experience this type of engagement, in this time of disengagement, in which we find ourselves either at once or gradually isolated from others and by others. As always, my daughter, not as always, but as it happens, my daughter had experienced such a situation, I think only once in her life, where it was bad enough that she remembers it And she says she would do anything not to come in such a situation ever again. Well, I'm also very cautious when she shares such decisions with me. I'm cautious in cautioning her not to exaggerate and actually to not to become a people pleaser out of fear of isolation. Well, if people choose to isolate us, well, it is their decision, and we have to respect it as such. But this doesn't mean that we have to become people pleasers. Anyway, this is not what I think about it, is about what she thought about it. And back then, she told me very openly that she's very, very sad and she does cry a lot. So to a certain degree, she really cried in front of me, and so I hugged her and tried to comfort her as much as I could. But it seems that she really needed to cry out that feeling of isolation, and most of all, nobody actually warned her about that coming, and she didn't see it coming. She was actually very popular in all educational institutions she has visited, and boy, she did visit a lot. She changed, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times the kindergarten, and then the school 2 times. Yeah. And I was, and she did cry a lot, and she told me she needs this. She needs to let it out, and I was there for her. This was the first thing she said. I have to let it go, to let it out. I cannot keep it inside. And the second thing she told me about is that I don't beg them to be my friends again. It is their choice. I respect it, but it will take a lot of effort on their sides to gain me back, which she kept it. Well, in the meanwhile, we changed places again, so she wasn't in touch with them anymore. But as far as I know, she didn't keep in touch with them. At some point, some of them did. Actually, the parents did contact me and well, try to make some peace, negotiate some peace. And I was like, we're not there anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We are not angry. I am not angry. I understand this is part of life. This was the children. Well, it was something which had to be dealt with among the children. We as grown-ups should just stay out of the situation and well, intervene when the situation gets well complicated. But for the time being, it wasn't. And she kept her dignity, and she didn't ask them to accept her back, or she didn't even ask for an explanation. So why are you isolating me? No, she was just like, well, it is their choice, it is their decision, I respect it, but I'm gone. And it helped that we moved again, moved away again. And well, the next point was that well, I do my life with my mom and my little brother, and it is what it is. So it was a phase, in the first phase, where she was really in great distress and in great despair. But afterwards, she didn't care anymore. I wish I had that sort of, emotional, mental flexibility where within a couple of days of experiencing such painful as being isolated at once by those who are actually a very central part of her universe, apart from the family. And then a couple of days later, she had already reached the decision that she's not going to beg them to take her back. No way. And well, they will have to work for her for her to accept them back again. So she had already this awareness that if you don't want me and you have left already once, well, I'm gone too, and I won't accept you back anymore. And thirdly, she goes on and does her life with her little brother and with her mom, and well, nothing else really matters. As I said, I wish I had that level of resilience and mental fortitude and emotional flexibility, not to be well even hurt much more deeply. And then she had, like, as a sort of cathartic experience or looking for cathartic experience. Of course, she didn't know the word catharsis, so just a disclaimer. She didn't know the word catharsis, but what she did was she was watching her favorite animation series back then, which was Blackjack, the animated version of Tezuka Osamu's manga, and she would play roles as being Pinocchio. Pinocchio is the female protagonist of the series and is essentially the only friend, the only true friend Jack Black has, and is also the only person, so to say, for whom Blackjack, the main male protagonist, is nurturing some sort of affection towards. And she would play Pinocchio while pretending that I am Blackjack. She said that Mama is so much like Blackjack, pretends not to care but cares very deeply. Yeah, again, this sort of insights at the age of 3, 4, 5 years old is kind of stunning if I come to think of it. And this was her way of coping with isolation and rejection. Was not clinging to it, but crying it out in my arms, crying it out, then making the decision. Gone is gone, and I'm not going to ask them to accept me back, and I'm not going to accept them back when they come, unless they put in a lot of effort, which, well, it didn't happen very quickly afterwards, but it did happen at some point. But she was already gone. We had already moved to a different city by then. And so the third is I go on with my life with my little brother, and I don't care about them. And I pretend to be the center of the universe, at least the center of an animation series, by imitating Pinocchio, her favorite female protagonist from an animated series. Well, I think this is incredible in terms of resilience and in terms of existential wisdom. Taking into account, as I said, she was like 3, 4, not yet 5 years old, 3, 4, maybe very early 5 years old. And she was, so she must have been 4 or 5 years old because her brother was already there. It's incredible the level of wisdom and depth and, well, resilience and moving forward. And number 5 was that she said, I'm going to find new friends. I don't care. I'm going to find new friends. I'm going to have new friends. I'm going to enjoy my time with them. Well, past is past. I cannot change it. So these are my words. I cannot change it. I cannot return to it. But, well, I'm looking forward for what's coming. Well, a very... even nowadays, she applies the same principle. Like, maybe nowadays she doesn't cry herself out in front of me or in my arms. No, she doesn't do it anymore. She's a teenager. She doesn't show weakness or vulnerability in front of anyone. We know how that works. But even nowadays, she applies the same principle of, let it go. What's gone is gone. It doesn't come back. You cannot repair it. And even if you could, there's, there are two factors of the same equation. And if they do not want to be part of your life, or if they want to be part of your life whenever they want or need it, and then they just drop you, then you're better off without them. And you find new friends who are more suitable for what you need and who know how to protect and to respect you and not just drop and isolate you without a warning, without an explanation, and without at least some sort of compassionate handling of the situation. Well, as I said, I was very impressed by this attitude. I tend to be very different in situations when I find myself isolated or dropped away by particularly if I care about those people. But, well, life is what it is, and I have learned tremendous stuff from my daughter. The same goes for my students. I always say I don't know how much my students learn from me, but I learn tremendously from them, from their papers, from their attitudes, from their questions, and from the way they behave and act in the world. So that will be for today. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. I'm, as always, doing my best to deliver some useful but pragmatic information and solutions to situations in which we find ourselves, even though we may not really confess that we find ourselves in. And well, I'm looking forward to welcoming you back here again very soon. Love and peace to you all.